All right, today we're going to be going over the difference between the BK Butler Tube Driver. This is one of like the new ones you can just buy straight from him. And the Power Booster. This is the Solasound, not the Colorsound. It's not like a $3,000 vintage one. It's like a $400 reissue. Still awesome, overpriced, but worth it. So, going through a high watt custom little D, fake WEM cab from High Watt with a high tone Fane in it. So, just kind of show you just how I have them, like just how I keep them on my board. So, clean channel, like bridge pickup. Tube driver. So we have like the high gain and low gain one that I had made for me. So the regular one is set at high gain. The low gain is more for like a color shaping. So the low gain is used more how Gilmore used to use the power boost. So he used to use the power boost to color the big muff, color the fuzz face, that kind of stuff. A lot of the time, especially in the studio, he would use every different kind of setting under the moon you can think of. It's like, I mean, he would jack the treble, the bass, volume, anything. Like, obscured by clouds, mostly power boost. Like, every bit of, like, fuzz face that you hear isn't really fuzz. It's just a cranked power boost. So, the high gain one, the high gain tube driver is going to be more like big muff territory. So I keep the settings the same, but I do tweak the drive knob. Usually I have it anywhere between 10 and like 4 or 5 o'clock. So at 10, it's like your good kind of basic standard just crunch. Good for like the pulse, another brick in the wall solo kind of sound. At this gain level, it's also good for boosting other pedals. Not really boosting, having other pedals boost it. Even back to the bridge pickup, even something as simple as like a freaking tube screamer sounds great. Getting a little away from the Gilmore thing once you start introducing a tube screamer, but now if we go to like 1 o'clock, say 2 o'clock, not sure how it translates on camera. It's basically the same sound, just thicker with a little more sustain. It's almost like you just put a clean boost before it, just to kind of bump it a little bit. low gain. Not much of a difference, but there's really not supposed to be. Let's put on like the P1. So I have found with these amp settings anyway, I have my amp settings set to what he used to run, like wall era. So if you have your high watt set to where Gilmore normally has his amp set, you know, over the last 10, 15 years or so, the Tube Driver is going to be a little more versatile on the lower notes. So the wall settings on the amp itself, they're a little more gainy. They're a little, like the amp itself is a little more pushed. I personally like that sound, but when you push an already pushed amplifier, it gets kind of muddy, especially like on the low end. Not like a huge deal. It's primarily like you'll want to use this primarily for like a solo boost. So like more of a feel thing than a tone thing. Another cool thing about the Tube Driver, it has a high impedance output. Not exactly sure what that does, to be perfectly honest with you, but I do know that the power boost is kind of noisy, especially at higher gains, like a fuzz face would be. Like, listen to this. So, yeah, you hear that noise? That's going to happen no matter what when the volume or gain is cranked so high. So, off, on. Here's the cool part. Since this is a high impedance output, when it hits this, it kills the noise. Don't ask me how it does it, I couldn't tell you. But boom. So, to be fair, when you're in a band situation, when everything's loud, when you're playing animal shit, when you got your delay on, that little hum, nobody's gonna care. If anything, it's gonna sound more like the 77 tour live tone, and that's, I mean, come on, that's awesome. So, you gotta embrace the noise sometimes. So, now let's do like a straight comparison. So let's do all of the knobs at noon. So with all the knobs at noon, the power boost really doesn't color anything. It doesn't do anything. It just kind of sits there. I'm a little out of tune. I apologize. Like, it's a tiny bit fatter, but it's like whatever. Now the Tube Driver, everything at noon, going to be a little more higher gain. So at noon they're pretty different, but you can make them sound pretty similar. Another thing with the power boost, with an authentic one anyway. So you're going like the last. So if the dial goes from like 1 to 10, not a whole lot of gain difference between like say 3 or 4 to like 8. As soon as you hit like 8 at like 8:30, not 8:30, like 8.5 to 10, it just opens up like crazy. So besides volume, I'll compensate for volume real quick. Difference, right? But you'll hear it as soon as it kicks in. Just starting to kick in. There it is. Again, noisy, but worth it because it sounds like a super fat mid-gain fuzz phase that's not boomy or farty or anything. So if we back off the bass a little bit, increase the treble a little bit. Volume pedal. Actually, let's try bumping the bass a little bit. So, like how I was saying with Obscured by Clouds, this is the sound from When You're In and Obscured by Clouds. I'm just going to set volumes real quick. Yeah, it's just the sound. Same thing with have a cigar. It's just a killer gain sound. So, in comparison, so we'll need to back off the lows, increase the highs for sure to kind of match this. Increase the highs even more. Bump the lows a bit. So, let's see if we can get a similar sound. I'm sure we can. You know what I like doing too, and this, I think this is what we'll need to do to kind of match the tone, is if you run the high gain into the low gain, turn off the delay for reference. Probably not going to translate on camera with YouTube compression, all that kind of good stuff, but there's definitely like a feel difference there. They're definitely different animals, for sure, no pun intended. But this one is a little more like splatty and a little saggy in a good way. Good example of that is going to be, turn on the delay for this one. It's going to be like the... So for animals, let me get the settings back a little bit. So it should sound like this. around Yamaha Leslie live sound. So they're definitely similar. Just like the fuzz face and the big muff are similar. They have their own flavor for sure. Another thing we can do is kind of see how they take boosting muffs. Just setting equal volumes here. Too far away. Let's just put on like some wall delay. So let's put on like full rotary chorus, like the whole thing, and just kind of bounce back and forth. Another thing the stock tube driver can't do, that the color driver can, or the low gain color driver can, is shape the sound. So the tube driver is a pretty high gain pedal. The power boost isn't until you get to like 8.5 or 9, and then it's just balls to the wall high gain. So there's a lot of shaping room on the power boost. So like we could do, for example, I have this like three little notches. These are like notched. It's not a smooth sweep. So 3 notches from 0 is a good setting to boost them up. The low gain one, about here, like these pedals right now are set to where they sound equal, more or less. Yeah, they're essentially the same. So all 3 of these pedals, the tube drivers and the power boost, are set to sound about the same. So with this one, just like the stock version, this is 3 notches from 0, and this is at like 1 o'clock. So if we bump this to like 3 o'clock, sounds good. Sounds nice and fat, really full. Way fuller with this at 3 o'clock. Now, so if we try to bump the tube driver up much more, it can get pretty muddy pretty quick. Again, not sure how it translates to camera, but like every note feels like there's way too much hitting it. Like it's just saturating the actual like line signal, not like the actual like sound, and not a good saturation. Real kind of woofly and muddy and stuff, and the lows are backed off as it is. Now compare that to the tube driver, or the power boost rather. far as like color shaping, we'll hit this one just because it has way more leniency in the drive knob. Yeah, so got that volume at like 11. So it seems with the gain below like 1-ish o'clock, it almost takes away from the gain structure, which might not be a bad thing, but if you're watching this video, it's probably a bad thing because you're going for this kind of sound. So let's kind of play with like the minimum gain setting that still sounds good for going after a muff. So 12, still a little low. So yeah, about like 1 o'clock is like between 1 and 3 is going to be your sweet spot for boosting them up. Right away that like for that song, like In the Flesh, the power boost with the big muff, like it's too much, it's too dominating, like you're hitting the song too hard. So perfect example, like the Hey You solo, like everything here is set pretty well for it. So, like the Hey You solo. out of tune. It's not even funny. I hate that shit. But, so yeah, it sounds awesome, right? It sounds really, really, really good. But it's just missing, like, it's missing the testosterone behind it. Granted, my master volume is at 9 o'clock instead of like 10 or 11 o'clock. Doesn't sound like a huge difference. On a high watt, makes a huge difference. Because yeah, that's another video. But when you add the color sound, or the power boost to it. Again, like, this whole video is splitting hairs. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. But when it comes to like nailing this kind of tone, like, that's what it's about, is splitting hairs. So as far as the exact same thing with the Tube Driver, now remember, these two pedals are exactly the same. This setting here is just 3 notches on this. So set this to 0, 1, 2, 3. They're exactly the same. So I have the volume compensated on the low gain one. I'll just use that. As far as just kind of using it by itself, so if we do like a moderate gain setting, set volumes real quick. How like gainier the Tube Driver Driver is. I mean, this is a little past 9 o'clock on the gain. I mean, it says volume, but this is the volume. This is the gain. So the gain's at like 9. This gain is at, this gain is at 3. I'm looking at this thing sideways. This is at 3. This is at 9. And this is dirtier than this. Now this is thicker than this. Like it has way more body and low end, but this is hairier. Just on the verge of they are breaking up, but they just started to. So we basically have 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Humongous difference on that dial. But this is kind of what they sound like with like a compressor hitting them and that kind of stuff. So, well, let's just do... There's that guy. So, if we put on compressor... Now that is a good sound right there. Compressor going into the tube driver, going into the power boost. Because they're kind of similar-ish by themselves. Totally weird. They sound very similar. And if you bought all 3 of these, they would cost about as much as this. It's kind of funny. example of using dual tube drivers. So the Dynacomp and the compressor on with the low gain just to color it. Too far away. So you notice instantly how much it just makes that tone pop. It just brightens it really crazy. Too high gain. Let's back that off a little bit. I kind of like that sound better, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think you guys get the idea. It's been long enough. But yeah, they're very similar and very different. You know, it just kind of depends how you want to use it. They're roughly the same price. The tube drivers are way more like readily available. You're gonna get way more of that like vintage vibe with the power boost, and it'll definitely do the modern stuff pretty well, and vice versa. The tube driver does the modern Gilmore stuff perfectly, and it can cover the vintage stuff too if you want it to. Similar. I really don't have a favorite because they're pretty different as far as what I use them for. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned something, or you know, whatever. But hopefully you like the video and whatnot. But yeah, if you have any ideas for anything else you want to see, just let me know and I'll make another video. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Have a good one, guys.